Okay, Google, play Trep Out Da Bando on YouTube.
Here's Trep Out Da Bando on YouTube.
In 2020, my siblings and I combined our stimulus checks and bought a quadruplex. What'd you do with your check? Come with us as we learn to rehab and market this multifamily building in an abandoned neighborhood. Yeah, we getting it out the mud. Hopefully our entrepreneurial spirit will allow us to Trep Out Da Bando.
My name is Nelson Griffith, the OG Trepper. You all have been asking for me. Well, here I am. The way I got them involved in real estate, it was strictly through demonstration. My children did not watch what I said, they watched what I did, and they did what I demonstrated to do. I'm the OG Trepper. And some of these questions that was asked is, what type of entrepreneurships did I get into? I got into real estate. I recorded several bands and groups, and I have gotten royalties off of that, worked on getting cars from the government auction, and I sold those cars for a profit of $300 or more. I had a nightclub that I had for 4 years called the Dollhouse, and it did very well. In fact, it did not ever go in the red. I closed the doors with the nightclub in the positive numbers. Narelle, Nevin, and Alicia kind of remind me of when I and Gregory was working together, and we had Fern, our younger sister, working with us in the music. I have done a lot of things that have made money, and I was careful in doing so. I didn't try to trick people or do anything that would be deceiving. I tried to do everything that would be above board, and if it wasn't above board, I left it alone. I, as a father, decided that I was going to make sure that there were no problems in dealing with property and real estate. And as I did, I would discuss it with my children from time to time. The first income producing property that I got was a duplex house. It was in Tampa, Florida, in what we call the Ebo City area. It had 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a bath on one side, and the other side was the same way. Once I got the house, I made sure that I was able to make the down payment, and the monthly payments was of such that I could keep the property without running into any financial strain. I rented the house out both sides. One side I rented to make sure that I covered all of the expenses that was necessary to keep the house running and afloat. The other side of the money that came in out of apartment B, I put it aside so that I could reinvest into other properties if necessary. And one day I just decided that I needed to pay this house off. And I looked at the balance, and I had enough in savings from managing that property. I paid it off. I paid for that house in 7 years. That gave me the first piece of real estate that I really owned, and that was now, after 7 years, was turning a profit for me. I took the profit out of that house and bought another piece of land and built a duplex apartment. Now, in this duplex apartment, I could have lived in it continuously, but I didn't. I moved into it and I lived in apartment A. Apartment B, I made sure I rented it out for enough to cover all of the expenses for that particular duplex. And the rent that I would have had to pay for living somewhere else, I put that rent aside. After 8 years, I paid that apartment off. But before I paid that apartment off, I had a lot next door to it. I built another apartment, which was apartment A and B again. And I doubled up and paid the 2 buildings off within that same 8-year period of time. Now I had the 3 apartments and the original building that was producing income for me. Now I continued to manage those properties like that, and I continued to put the money aside until I was able to buy 2 more apartments adjacent to the ones that I already had. And from there, by me demonstrating that you can own property if you manage your money and the property properly, and telling them the various strategies and talking with all of them in a group setting, it turned out that they always seemed to have the same mindset and wanted to make sure that everything worked out to the betterment. I had 3 that was especially interested in real estate advancement: Nirel, Nevin, and Alicia. And if you notice, they're NGs. They began to ask questions, and they also began to do things that would make them good property owners also. Now, it's not that easy to get a hold to income producing property. They had to take property that either had been foreclosed on and they had obtained it through taxes, or they had to take property that I had worked on and gotten assets out of it, and we could take that money and put it into additional properties and flip it. As we continue to work on acquiring property and accumulating assets and saving a little money here and there to buy property, I made sure that my children understood that the responsibility of taking on these assets does have consequences if you do not manage them properly. This is not a quick fix. You cannot just jump up and grab property and in 10 minutes it's going to give you $10,000 or $15,000, $20,000. You're going to have to put in proper management. You're going to have to put in proper care for the property, and you're going to have to also make sure that the people that you are working with or dealing with will be people that can understand that you are working in business, not just doing something as a fly-by-night scheme. And they did not take any risk that would cause the property to go into any type of conflict. Well, I don't believe in borrowing money to try to make money, because when you borrow money to try to make money, it keeps you in stress all the time. You are constantly wondering, when will I be able to get enough money to make my payment on this money that I borrowed? And if this money that I borrowed does not bring me any money in, then I'm losing. I believe that a person should work, pay for a loan that they want before they get the loan. In other words, save up, and if you want $10,000, work hard and try and save about $5,000 and put it in the bank, and borrow $5,000 and put with it. In other words, you didn't borrow any more than what you have. As often as you possibly can, save money on the side. And once you save money on the side, when you decide what you're going to do with it, if you don't have enough, don't borrow any more than what you have already saved. And from time to time, they would call me and I would intervene. And if it was necessary for me to put in some cash money or necessary for me to obtain a building through taxes or whatever the case may be, I would go ahead and do what I would deem necessary to keep them afloat so that they would not have any problem. But once I got them afloat, they came up with their own ideas about how to do things. They found properties that were being foreclosed on, and they in turn bought the properties and turned the properties over. They got to the point where they had their own ideas about how things would be going and how things should go. They did a good job. They have other businesses and entrepreneurships that they are taking care of that I'm not totally involved in anymore. They do this on their own, and I'm very proud of them. They all trust each other, and there are no arguments. That they seem to have a difference. They can get together and meet and talk it over with, come to a conclusion, and they all buy into the same conclusion that they have arrived at. I am very proud of them because they are doing some of the things that I did, and they're in their raw stages right now, but little by little, it's going to get better and better, and I'm just looking forward to it. I'm the OG Trepper, Nelson Griffith, and this has been Trep Out Da Bando, where my children turned a stimulus check into a quadruplex.
Do you know what a bando is?
No. No, I don't. What y'all laughing about?
Do you, what, if you had to guess what a bando was, what would you say a bando is?
A bando?
A bando.
A bando.
Yes.
If I had to guess what it is,
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say, you say Trep Out Da Bando.
Mm-hmm. Trep Out Da Bando.
I have no idea.